Well, good evening. Welcome to Space Oddities. Hope everybody's well out there. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening. We're delighted to welcome a special guest tonight as part of Moon Month, as you probably gathered already, because we're sitting in front of the words Moon Month. It is Moon Month here on Space Oddities, a whole month of programming, videos, discussions, and podcasts about everything to do with the moon, as well as the usual suspects here, who you probably know already. I'm delighted to welcome to Space Oddities this evening Dr. Dave Williams. How are you, Dave?
I'm fine, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Dave, can you just answer a question that Daz and I were talking about? We seem to remember you appearing on Astro Radio with us ages ago, talking about the moon trees. Is that correct?
Oh, was it? Okay. Yes. I you know, it's funny. when I heard all your voices and everything, I realized I had talked to you before, and I guess it was a different venue.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember what I talked about. Was it the moon trees?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Different century.
I can talk about something else. I don't want to bore you with the moon trees.
No, it was wonderful, and when Lou said you were coming on, and Dad said this evening, I think he talked to us on Astro Radio in our Astro Radio days before Space Oddities. So, well, welcome back anyway. So,
thank you.
So, as you might have gathered, Dave's going to be talking about the moon trees. And in case you're wondering what the moon trees are all about, well, Dave's going to be telling us. So, Dave, I will come back to you just a moment, if I may. And in the meantime, we're just going to do the usual housekeeping stuff. So, thank you for all of you being here this evening. And don't forget, if you would like to support Space Oddities, you can do so by buying us a coffee first and foremost. And you can either scan the QR code on the screen, or you can click the link that's just appeared in the chat. As it says here, astronomers' lives matter, and they certainly do in terms of caffeine. So if you would like to buy us a coffee, then you can go to the Buy Us a Coffee website and spend enormous amounts of money to keep us going in caffeine, which is our staple diet, of course. Also, of course, don't forget we have the Space Oddities shop, where you can buy T-shirts and hoodies. And don't forget, summer's coming up, allegedly. So you'll want to be out flashing your funky stuff in the Space Oddities T-shirts this summer, I'm sure. Be the first kid on your block to wear them. And we have the T-shirts and the hoodies for sale there, and you'll find full details actually in the shop. So there we are. Let me just see who we've got in this evening. Having a chance to see who's around this evening. Good evening, Sandra, and good evening, Derek. Who else we got here? Stuart, Jerry, Kev, and a few others. And Melinda's here. Hi, Melinda. Nice to see you here. And everybody else. So thank you for being here. Now, don't forget, we are, as I said, in the first week of Moon Month. There are already several videos up on the channel. We'll be posting a lot more over the course of the next couple of weeks. And we got some lovely stuff coming up for you. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at any of the videos on the channel for Moon Month. Don't forget, there's a special Moon Month playlist on the channel that you can go to see all of the videos, everything to do with the moon. So we hope you go and have a look at the playlist and enjoy the videos. And if you do watch any of them, or you have watched any of them, give us a bit of feedback. Tell us what you thought. I mean, we're open to criticism, death threats, ransom demands, anything really. So please go and have a look at the videos and tell us what you think, because we can only improve things if we get feedback, of course. And you are our audience, and we value your opinions. Anyway, enough of that malarkey. Let's get back to Dave. So, Dave, first of all, would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I'm working at Goddard Space Flight Center. I'm the head of the NASA Space Science Data Coordinated Archive, which is NASA's deep archive for a lot of its spacecraft data, including all the Apollo data, which is how this whole story started with the moon trees. But so a lot of our work is storing data all the way back from Sputnik to stuff that's happening today, and also restoring a lot of the old data, because a lot of the old data is on microfilm, microfiche, old computer tapes with, hardly any documentation to go with them, things like that. So a lot of it we're trying to make, useful now. And then there's just a lot of other, background stuff. We have we have a database also, speaking of Sputnik, that our first spacecraft in our database is Sputnik, and it goes all the way up to anything that launched yesterday. Yeah, that's basically what I do. Yeah, right.
That's a huge amount of data then, isn't it?
Yes.
Gosh, I'd love to do something like that. That would be right up my alley, Dave. I
do. Yeah, I love it. I do. I first saw this job. I was looking to. I had a postdoc at Carnegie Institution here in Washington D.C., and it was ending. It's a 2-year postdoc, and I was looking for jobs, and there really weren't like university kind of professor teaching jobs. There just weren't any out there at that time. And I remember at going to the Lunar Planetary Science Conference and talking to a bunch of my friends, a bunch of my colleagues who, basically I always thought were way ahead of me as far as who was in the pecking order for who's going to get jobs. And they were all saying the same thing. There were no jobs. We were all applying to places and getting back letters. Thank you. You're one of 200 applicants to a college I never even heard of before. And I thought, wow, so this is a little bleak. I saw an advertisement for what they call a planetary data acquisition scientist at Goddard Space Flight Center. And I thought, well, that looks pretty boring. But I think, all right, look, I can do this for a couple of years. At least it's planetary science. Let me apply for this job. It's in the area, so I don't have to move. I'll do this for a few years until I can find something like. And I don't know. I was probably there for maybe 4 or 5 months, and I realized I loved it. I loved every part of it. I thought this is the job for me. So I've never looked back.
I'd love to do something like that. I spent 5 years with IBM coding databases for them. So I'm very much a data-driven person. So I'd love all that stuff. So I'm very jealous, Dave. Very jealous.
And Dave, you're kind of heading the coordinated archive at Goddard, but you're also associated with the planetary data system. Are you still?
Yeah. Well, we act as a deep archive for the planetary data system. So yeah, I've been working with them since almost since I started anyway. One of my first things was to work with them, and so yeah, we're still catching up on getting all their data transferred to us, but yeah, we work with them very closely.
Right. So how does it actually work, Dave? Because presumably you've got a lot of stuff on old media. I mean, how do you deal with all of the old media and going to the future? What are you going to store them on in the future? Because that's
right.
Really worrying, isn't it?
No, that's a really important question. And here's the thing that I've learned is, it's not so much the media that you have a problem with. It's the stuff to read the media. It's the machines. It's the hardware that goes bad before the media goes bad. So we were struggling to read all of our tapes, all our 9-track tapes onto new media, and we were babying these 9-track tape readers along. The tapes themselves, even though some of them were 20, 25, 30 years old, were still readable. But finally the machines died.
Yeah.
And we basically got almost everything. Luckily, there's a couple places where they've kept machines going, or they've come up with their own clever ways to read tapes, and we could send them tapes to read. It gets like about $100 a tape. So we luckily didn't have a lot, but every once in a while we do come across some new tapes and we have to read them. Microfilm, microfiche, boy, that stuff lasts forever. I'll tell you, I was talking to JPL, and they had a lot of old stuff in a storage bin out. It's in Pasadena. It's like the desert, right? And they had a lot of stuff in a storage room, and they were asking if we thought there was anything interesting that we'd want to archive because they were cleaning it out. And they gave me sort of an inventory of what was there, and there was a box of Mariner 2 data. So this is data from about 1962, I think. And it was a box of microfilm. So I was like, okay, this might be interesting. We should take a look at this, make sure we don't have it already. And so they sent us the box. I opened up the box, and it was full of reels of microfilm sitting in what looked like yellow confetti.
Right.
And I just opened reels, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is how they pack the microfilm. This is how they're taking care of their microfilm. This is insane." I couldn't understand it. And when we opened the box, we were all just looking at it. We were taking pictures of it because we couldn't believe what we were looking at. We started pulling the reels out and clearing up this confetti. And as we got lower into the box, we realized that the reels underneath were in these yellow cardboard boxes. And what we thought was confetti, yes, when we tried to pick up the boxes, they crumbled like potato chips in our hands. They just fell apart. And what had happened was they'd been sitting out in this dry, desert environment for so long that the boxes had just completely deteriorated and fallen apart. And, so anyway, we're like, well, great. This microfilm is not going to be in, how are we going to be able to read this stuff if
Sure.
such bad condition that the cardboard actually just completely deteriorated. Well, we pulled out a reel and we cleaned it off because it was covered with this yellow dust. We cleaned it off. We read it. It was pristine. It was perfect. We could read it just fine. So this was, at the time we read this, it was about, it was 55 years old, I think, 50 to 55 years old at the time we read it. Sitting in these conditions, which were obviously not, although maybe more humidity probably would have been worse. But in any case, so we realized that the media is fine. It's just, you have to find a microfilm reader, which we do have, and one of the things we're working on is reading this microfilm. We have a huge collection of it because that was really the way to go. We would get boxes of computer printout or other data, and we would just microfilm it. And by we, I mean people way before me. This was before my time, but microfilm was considered this is the way to go to archive data, to store data. And now we are busy scanning it and making it digital so that now it can be actually, used, transported, easily accessible. So
and preserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think virtually between all of us here, I think we all cover the whole of space flight anyway. So if there's anything you want to know, just,
Yeah.
I use the NASA archive a lot, and it's because I'm with the Moon Month. I've been going back over the moon missions and all that. It reminded me of things I'd forgotten. It taught me things that I didn't even know, because it's far more in depth. And also, with the microfiche, you put things like reports, investigations, and everything like that digitally onto. Basically, you just photograph them, and it's absolutely fantastic. The things you can read now. One of the things I did, I haven't used it in our at this moment, but I've got tons of stuff that I've taken off the archive, which are about the Apollo 1 capsule fire and the investigation that happened afterwards. And it was so in depth. I was just enthralled. That basically there was so much to read. I was just reading it, but I wasn't doing anything with it because I was just hooked on it. And it's absolutely, if you go to the NASA archive, what you find in there is absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much.
Dave, everything you do, because it's such a valuable historical thing to do. We cannot lose all this stuff.
No. That's and that's that is one thing about the machines dying, and I hate to put it this way, it's also people dying, and we rely on for this really old data, the Apollo data, we've relied for a long time on talking to these people who worked on these projects, who were principal investigators and technicians and things on these projects, as far as figuring out what the data, what is in there, and there's not very many left, around.
Well, I look at it this way, Dave. With all the documentation that you are very kindly and worthily helping to preserve, we've got seemingly millions of people who deny the moon landing has ever happened. And can you imagine? Can you imagine what it would be like if we didn't have the documentation to say to people, look, here's the documentation, you know? So,
Yes.
I mean, you talk about people passing away or in retiring and all that. I mean, Lou's sort of got a great example with Voyager. The people they've had to bring back into the into NASA just to go through the coding again when things have gone wrong. And they come back, they correct these things, and it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, these people, and like you say, once they're gone, they're gone. So
yeah,
we
absolutely.
need to, as Andy said, we need to. But
We need
I'd be fascinated. That's a job I would really have loved.
Yeah, well, Keith Pearson agrees. He said, "Wow, Dave Williams, best job in the world." So
Yeah,
it seems you've got a lot of very green people, Dave. So
Yeah.
anyway, so the subject at hand for Moon Month, the moon tree. And we were just saying that Dave joined us a few years ago when we were on Astro Radio before unfortunately it had to close down. But I'm sure many of our viewers, Dave, will not have heard of the moon trees. So could you sort of explain what this is all about, basically?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And everyone, feel free to interrupt with questions at any point. You know, just chime in. I'd rather have a conversation than just, you know, sit here and talk. So, yeah, I will tell it how it started with me, because that's that's kind of that's I don't know. To me, that's the most interesting, but it's probably pretty, you know, egocentric, but that's okay. I on December 1st, 1996, we got an email from a third grade teacher in Kennelton, Indiana, in the middle of the United States, asking, she said her class was doing this project on local trees, and there was a Girl Scout camp near them, and it had a tree, and the tree had a sign on it, and it said it was a moon tree. And now she had found my name because, like I said, we had archived Apollo data, and so we have web pages so you can, you know, get to the data, get to whatever information we have on Apollo. And so she just came across that. And again, this is 1996, so this is fairly early on in the in the history of the, you know, the World Wide Web. Yeah, right. So but anyway, she asked this, and I was like, wow, I never heard of these. I never heard of moon trees. But okay, but I've got a lot of old timers here at Goddard who worked on the Apollo program. So I asked around. Nothing. Nobody knew. No one heard of these moon trees. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I didn't even know if they were real, but I contacted the NASA history office, and I got on, you know, on what the web searches that were at the time, you know, Alta Vista and those, you know, they were
Alta Vista. I loved Alta Vista.
That's right. Yeah, I relied on it for years. And you know, they were fine, but not like, you know, not like today. And of course, there wasn't as much on the web as there is today either, which is maybe not necessarily
a bad thing, yeah.
Right? But okay, but anyway, so yeah, I digress. But anyway, so I did find a couple things online on the web about, you know, just a couple of snitches about moon trees. So, some place had a park that had a moon tree and something else. And then I got back something from the NASA history office, which was they had some newspaper clippings about it, and they copied it. So basically, it was enough to kind of put the story together. And what the story was that on Apollo 14, Stuart Roosa, who was the command module pilot, had been a smoke jumper with the U.S. Forest Service. And the smoke jumper are these guys who jump out of airplanes in the backwoods where they can't get to any other way. They parachute down and they fight fires back, like I said, back in the backwoods where you can't get to any other way. So it's kind of crazy, but anyway, that's what he did, and then he became an astronaut. So there you go. And he and so when he was selected for Apollo 14, and he was selected to be the command module pilot. So he's the guy who went around the moon while Alan Shepard was on the moon hitting a golf ball, actually, and a lot of people seem to remember that. He worked with the Forest Service, and he brought all these tree seeds with him in his personal kit. And when he got back down, so these seeds went with him to the moon, orbited the moon 34 times, came back to Earth, and then he handed them over to be germinated. This was in 1971. So by 1976, there were these seedlings, and because 1976 was the U.S. bicentennial, they distribute these seedlings all over the country, and they just had ceremonies everywhere, planting these seedlings as part of the bicentennial celebrations that they were having all over the country. And then these things kind of got forgotten about, and you never heard of them. I mean, I remember the bicentennial really well. I never heard about moon trees, but there was a lot going on, right? I mean, a million things were going on then. And so it was, it was a huge celebration. But in any case, they just kind of faded, I guess. And so when this teacher, Joan, wrote to me, and I found some of the stuff about it, of course, I answered her and said, well, here's what I found out. But I thought, God, this is such an interesting story, and nobody knows about it. It just seemed like, wow, okay. So we have the Apollo web pages. I just made up a page on the moon trees. I had the rudimentary information that I knew that I had on them, and I put a list. I think it had 6 trees on it of trees, moon trees that I found something out about, either from the history office or from searching online. And I said at the bottom, I said, hey, if you know about a moon tree, please send me an email. And pretty soon I started getting emails. And then I started getting more emails from people who said, oh, there's a moon tree in the park near me. Oh, my state capitol building has this thing and it has a plaque that says it's a moon tree, et cetera, et cetera. And then I started getting emails from people in the Forest Service who happened to come across the page somehow and said, Stan Krugman, he said, oh, I was, I worked on the Moon Tree Project with Stuart Roosa and blah, blah. Then I got a message from Stuart Roosa's son who stumbled across the page and said, hey, this was my dad, and you put up this page about his moon trees. This is great. So I really started getting a lot of information about them, and I started finding more and more moon trees. And so, it's just, I've gotten information from so many people, so many places from NASA, from the Forest Service, and just from his family that, it's just become, it's just fun. It's become great. It's completely not what I would have ever guessed I would be doing at this point. But, and so there we go. There's about 140 that I've found. I say I've found. Other people have found all of them. I haven't found any by myself. I mean, well, I'm being a little facetious, but I don't have the resources to go searching around the country for moon trees. There's a lot of other people out there, and they'll write to me and they'll send me pictures and they'll tell me stories. People who remember planting the moon trees when they were kids in Boy Scouts and things like that. But to the point that I haven't found one by myself. At least I found online in newspaper articles and stuff like that. But almost everything I've gotten is from other people. After I had this page up for probably 4 or 5 months, I got a call in my office and from a woman, and she said, well, why don't you have the Goddard moon tree on your page? And I said, oh, there's a Goddard moon tree.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so you can see why I'm not running a detective agency. Anyway, yeah, sure enough, at the visitor center at Goddard, and to be fair, it's set way off to the side. There's no way you would walk by. There's no path that goes by it. There's nothing. It's set up way to the side. So, I walked, well, say within 100 yards of it, dozens of times, I'm sure, but never thought, oh, I wonder if that sycamore is over there is interesting. There was a little sign by it, but I'd never walked over to look at it. So there you go. So luckily I've got people who are more observant than me helping me find these things.
I've just read as well, Dave, that NASA revived the program in 2022 for Artemis 1.
Yes.
Right. So 1,000 moon tree, 1,000 seeds. In Artemis 1 as well. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they took them right on Artemis 1, which was obviously the uncrewed mission. But they stored about 1,000 seeds. The same. They're all the same, except instead of a redwood, they used a giant sequoia. But the other species are the same. The loblolly pine, sycamore, Douglas fir, and sweet gum are all the same species. And then they planted them, right? They did plant one at Goddard. So there's a little seedling now at Goddard that's an Artemis moon tree. And they're planting those all over the country as well. And hopefully keep better track of them this time around.
So are any of these trees in need of protection? I mean,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard they've been cut down in places, right? Because they weren't known, or they weren't widely known that they were moon trees. But and I've gotten, I get email from people. Oh, there's they've got a moon tree. They're gonna build this thing here. They're gonna do this. I'm afraid they're gonna cut it down. Now, interestingly enough, as a federal employee, I'm not allowed to go to, say, a state government or a local government and say, this is a moon tree, don't cut it down. It's a historic tree, because then it has the optics of the federal government telling the state government or the local governments what to do.
Yeah.
And so we're just not allowed. It's just a legal thing. And I understand it. So I can't argue. It seems like a little silly for it to be in this case, but okay, whatever. I get it. But I tell the people, okay, you need to let them know it's a moon tree. I can write up, and I've done this, a description of what the moon trees are and why they're important, without actually saying you have to save this tree, but to say, and point to the website and show that, there's actually a web page, a NASA web page on this tree that you're about to cut down. And so nothing's been cut down that's been identified, and that's been so far, at least. Right. They've died natural deaths. They've died from hurricanes. They're old. And so they are, some of those species are getting, they're at their old age now, and some of them are just dying.
Of course.
Fantastic, because it's like, I was just thinking, I mean, it'd be great to do a moon tree marathon and travel around the country and tick them off.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
And once you've done that, you can do the Artemis trees, and it'll be like a messier marathon, but instead of one night, it'll be over a couple of months.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yep. No, I've thought about see if I can get government funding to do that, but that's not going to happen. No, my wife says we should just go to all the moon trees, write a book, and we can declare it as a tax write-off.
By the way, I've just put the web page address up in the chat.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
And Sandra says, are you allowed to take a cutting from one?
Yes. Well, I mean, okay, so I shouldn't say that blanket statement. You need to ask. They're mostly in parks or at state capitol buildings. It's at the visitor center at Goddard, so they're not just sitting around. They're on some kind of private or government property. So you would have to ask. But I've taken seed balls off of the one at Goddard, and right. I've given them out. In fact, I got to go and hand one off to the Vatican astronomer to plant, and they planted at the Vatican Observatory. So there's a second generation moon tree. In other words, a moon tree from the Goddard tree growing at the Vatican Observatory now.
Oh, how wonderful.
That was cool. Yeah.
I was just thinking that with the trees that have fallen down or been blown over in hurricanes and things like that, wouldn't it be great to build an observatory from the wood?
Well,
people have made statues from the wood. People have done things with the wood, nice. and made little monuments or statues. So yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a thought, isn't it? That this is something from a previous generation that's been bequeathed to us, something of great importance. And we really don't tend to do that with much these days. Everything is so temporary and throwaway and not respected, for its significance or its antiquity. So it would be great if these trees, have their saplings and from like your seed balls, and it goes on and on and on and on well into the future. So yes, Keith says every astronomer on the planet would appreciate a seed.
I saw that. Yep. I mean, yeah, and again, certainly at the Goddard Visitor Center, if you come to Goddard, you could only get the seed balls at certain times of the year, and I mean, I wanted to collect the ones for the Vatican and the University of Padua, and I had to get this big long pole. But yeah, I mean, I told the visitor center what I was doing, or I asked them for permission to do it, because they would have thought it was pretty strange for a guy to be sitting there with this giant pole poking at their tree.
Yeah.
But I pulled down some seed balls, and they're viable, which is nice. And it also, what you were, a few of you were saying, made me I've thought of this before, just how brilliant this was, how ingenious it was to bring something to the moon. These little teeny weeny seeds that can grow into something so huge on Earth. I mean, everything else that was brought to the moon, people brought coins, they brought stamps, they brought other souvenirs to give out when they got back, or the mementos and things. They're all the same size they always were. And he managed to bring, Stuart Roosa managed to bring tons and tons of material basically to the moon effectively.
So I have two questions for you, Dave. First is, do you think that every NASA field center, all 10 of the centers, has a moon tree?
They all got moon trees. I think the only one left is the one at Goddard. The only tree at a NASA center left alive is at Goddard. Yeah.
So maybe
the latest one in Kennedy, a hurricane took out the one at Kennedy Space Center 10 years ago, maybe it was, something like that.
Right.
So,
my other question is, and I've been to the visitor center. I have no idea which tree this is, but do they appear normal? I mean, they've been in this high radiation environment for a couple of weeks or something, and
Right. No, and I joke, they glow at night and they have tentacles and stuff, but no, they're normal. And they did, they did make a bit of a scientific. I don't know. It was okay. Well, first off, it was definitely basically a public relations thing, but they did make a scientific statement, at least, that they would plant them with control seeds. In other words, they went through the Forest Service collections and they picked seeds out of specific batches of seeds that they collected over the years. And so they did save seeds out of those collections that didn't go to the moon and supposedly planted them next to the seeds that went to the moon, just to make sure. No one expected there to be a difference. First off, the seeds were with the astronaut the whole time. So they experienced the same amount of radiation that the astronauts experienced. Not a whole lot of radiation. They were out there for about a week. Anyway, actually what happened was when they brought them back, Apollo 14 was the last Apollo where they went through a whole decontamination procedure.
Right.
For the first Apollos, they were afraid. Who knows what might be on the moon? What might they bring back? By Apollo 14, they were like, yeah, the moon's dead. There's nothing living is coming back from the moon. They kind of knew this, but they were okay. They finally said, all right, no, this was the last quarantine. Part of the quarantine is they took everything that they brought and they put it into a vacuum chamber and they evacuated it. I don't know exactly why they did this, but I suppose, I don't know. The idea was just to make sure to try to kill anything that might be alive in there, I guess. But the seeds were packed in these plastic bags. And unfortunately, when the bags were exposed to a vacuum, they just burst. I mean, they actually had air in them with the seeds, and they were sealed. So once they were supposed to vacuum, of course, the air and it popped. The seeds shot out of the bags and went all over the vacuum chamber. I guess it was a fairly big room. It went all over the place in the room. So all the seeds were explosively exposed to a vacuum. And so basically everyone was sort of like, you know what? These are dead. How can these seeds possibly have survived this? But Stan Krugman, who was the head of the at the Forest Service, who was head of the project, said, just sweep them all up, and give them to me. And they were all separated in their bags by species. They got all mixed up. These are tiny, tiny seeds. But Stan Krugman went through, and there were, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around between 400 and 500 seeds, I think, were total. He went through every seed and sorted them back into the species. So he took the redwood seeds and he took the Douglas fir seeds. I'm amazed. But anyway, and then they germinated about half of them. They tried germinating. They all grew. They grew at a normal mortality rate. Let's put it that way. Seeds don't all grow under the best of circumstances. They don't all grow, but they grew just as they would have expected. So the vacuum didn't harm the seeds at all, which I always thought was a little odd. I mean, no way the tree seeds could have evolved to survive a vacuum. I mean, that would have never been an experience that they'd ever have over millions of years. and they did. I thought it was interesting.
On the other hand, I bet nobody had ever thought of exposing tree seeds to a vacuum before to see what happens. So.
That's right. so they did do a scientific experiment of a sort.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have split open themselves, couldn't they?
Yeah. And apparently they didn't. Apparently they were fine.
Like Andy said, it was a past. Popcorn. Like Andy said, it was a past generation planting trees for future generations. But of course, we had a chap here called, going back 100 years, called Capability Brown, who designed gardens for the well-to-do and the big houses, and he knew that all the gardens when lots of it involved trees, he knew that he would never see the fruition of these trees actually in their full glory. So to plant these trees, and that there's a good chance you're not going to see them mature to their full potential, is amazing. So it's and to be moon trees, it's just the concept is really weird. It's fine. I've got to come and take photographs of all of them. I've got.
And I have a few people who've made it their mission to go and take pictures of moon trees all over the country and stuff. So
that's your mission, Des.
Yes.
Yeah, my mission. Is Space Oddities paying? No, that's well. There you go.
And also, Dave,
I'll start rowing.
Can I get a job at the vacuum chamber? Because putting a plastic bag full of stuff in a vacuum, I could have told them that would happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I can. I know. I can't argue with that. I don't know what to say.
I mean,
they were in a metal canister, but apparently they opened the canister before they exposed them to vacuum, because if they were still sealed in the canister, the canister probably, at least even if it leaked, because I don't know how airtight it was, it would have at least not been sort of explosively explosed right to the vacuum.
And I don't wish to be gross, but it's a good job they didn't bring back biological
specimens
from the actual astronauts themselves in bags.
Things floating about.
A bit more. You can't just sweep that up.
That's right.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, we don't have moon frogs or things like that, so I guess that's...
No, exactly. But I mean, the other thing is, this is great ammunition against moon landing deniers, isn't it? Because they're always moaning about humans can't survive going through the Van Allen belts. I mean, the trees managed okay. They're fine. Yeah, great, absolutely fine.
And they didn't turn into triffids, so that's good.
They may be biding their time. We don't know.
I say that about the tardigrades that crashed on the moon, the Israeli lander that crashed, and tardigrades are sat there being irradiated, mutating, and they're just waiting for their revenge on the first, because they're a bit ticked off that they were left there.
They will survive virtually anything, won't they? Well, there we are. So amazing story, Dave. Absolutely amazing. And thank you so much, because it's inspiring. You know, like everything to do with the moon landings was inspiring, but bequeathing that to future generations is really quite touching, I think. And it's
no, I've always found it. Yeah, I've always found it to be quite. It's quite touching. It's quite inspiring. I met his family, and
Sure.
they're all very excited. About them. They've always been excited about the moon trees, and they're excited that they're, kind of made a comeback, I guess, and stuff. So yeah.
And the thought you've got seeds. You probably won't live to see that tree grow to its full glory. But that's for your children and their children, and it's just it's just wonderful. So there we are. Sandra says she'd love a seed. Well, you get in the queue, Sandra. We'd all love it. She says very interesting, Dave. Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. Dave, we could talk for hours, I'm sure, about the moon. You are welcome to stay with us for the rest of the show, but if you have other engagements, then no problem at all. But you have an open invitation to come back any Tuesday on Space Oddities and just be with us whenever you want to.
Oh,
so,
okay. Thank you. No, this is fun.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
We like to think so. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You've got the link. That link is permanent. It doesn't change.
Oh,
so
okay.
Any Tuesday evening you've got absolutely nothing better to do, then come and see us, and we'd love to see you anytime.
Just pop in. You don't have to.
No, just pop in. Just pop in.
All right. Thanks. I will. Thank you. Is every Tuesday you do this?
Every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. For our sins, we managed to do it every Tuesday. So there we are.
Somehow.
So panel, I think we'll give Dave a customary Space Oddities round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you, Lou, for introducing us. Very kind of you.
Oh yeah, Dave has so many more stories to tell.
Well, we want to hear them, Dave.
Okay. Lou and I have spent hours on some of these topics.
Yeah.
Keith Pearson says, Dave, write the book.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Catalog.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
With pictures.
Yeah, and Melinda echoes that. And Melinda says, I think there should be a book about the moon tree.
There are a couple children's books that I've been contacted, and people have written the books, and it's kind of cute, and it's kind of neat because I'm actually in some of them.
Oh right.
Yeah, they'll say the story of the moon trees, and then here's this guy, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's really cool. So I could show that to my grandchildren, and they think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter is 14. She doesn't know this story, so I'm going to bore her with this story. Actually, I think she'll quite enjoy it, and she's quite open to new things like that. So there we are. So thank you from all of us, Dave. And as I said, you're welcome to hang around. Or if you have somewhere better to go, then obviously we'll say goodbye to you. But you're welcome to hang around with us for the rest of the show. And thank you for your contributions towards our Moon Month, which is much appreciated.
Oh, sure. I know that. Well, that's been a true pleasure. So no, you don't have to thank me for that. I've loved all this stuff that I'm doing.
What you can do when you retire, Dave.
I plan to. Well.
That's another story.
Yeah, I'll definitely have plans to keep up this stuff when I retire.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Because I think, with the exception of Lou, we're all retired. So I know we don't look anywhere near that old.
No. I was shocked when you said that.
I retired early.
Yeah,
he was forced to.
Well, I actually have a and I'm sorry if I'm now taking up time for your show for other things.
No. We're not in any hurry, Dave. We're not in any hurry.
Oh, okay. Because I have the person that I'm handing this over to who works at NASA right now, and she's agreed to do it. And she was an intern of mine Wow, 2011. Okay, so yeah, about 14 years ago, she was my intern, and now she's working at God. Well, now she's my office mate, actually. So,
Do I know her?
But Marie, you know Marie, right?
Yeah.
Lou?
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's going to take over the NSSDCA?
No. She's gonna take over the Moon Trees.
Oh, the Moon Tree. Moon Trees.
She'll take over the Moon Trees page and the Moon Tree stuff. And I plan to keep working on it. And I'll just send her stuff to post on the page or that kind of thing. But yeah, so it's in good hands. At least, yeah, right.
Oh, that's great. At least it continues. That's the fantastic.
Right, exactly. From a younger person now, so good.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, Dave. As I said, you're welcome to stay with us.
Yeah.
But for now, we're going over to somebody who will be familiar to you. We're going over to Roger. For if you're ready, Roger, we will go over to our weekly look at the night sky and the viewers gallery this week. Have we got a big gallery this week?
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay.
No.
All right then. So anyway, take it away, Roger.
Okay, so here we go for the 8th to the 14th of April, coming up through up till nearly Easter time now. So we're currently experiencing a full moon which comes up through at the weekend. So sky brightening up drastically with all this moon glow, with all these clear skies as well, which is always the case. But this is what it looked like last night.
Mhm.
Lovely, Roger. That's one of yours, I take it.
Of course. A Sparkford moon.
Yeah. God.
Right. I know. Right. So through the week, and this is at 10 p.m., we can now see Orion coming towards the end of its visibility towards the western skies, unfortunately. But we do still have a good viewing of Jupiter and Mars, although it is getting quite small now. But that's by and by. And we're currently getting through into the galaxy season now, with Leo dominating the southern skies and Virgo coming up promptly behind. So that's all looking interesting. And we will be getting through with the start of the summer triangle soon. So we've got C Corona Borealis still awaiting its imminent explosion, so that's becoming a better viewing up in the eastern skies. So if there is an opportunity, we should still be able to get to see it quite nicely, but when that happens, who knows. Okay, so before sunrise through the week, we've got Venus, Saturn, Mercury and Neptune, although with sunrise we will only have the opportunity of possibly seeing Mercury, Saturn and definitely Venus. But an interesting configuration where they're almost in alignment, three of the planets. So if you can spot Mercury or Saturn, then you'll be able to see them quite closely together. And they do become almost parallel here, which is on the 13th. So interesting opportunity to possibly get something there with a camera. So be on the lookout for that. And alert, a new comet. But this is in the morning at the moment, so be aware of it. There have been some images caught of it. There might be some opportunity of it becoming a bit more interesting, but I haven't got much information on there at the moment. But it has been captured by quite a few photographers, so there might be a brightening up.
Yeah, I think they're expecting it to brighten to Mag 5.
Oh, right. Oh, it might be an opportunity. So it's currently through the square Pegasus, coming up through into Andromeda. So be on the lookout for that. Here's an early capture of it. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, Keith would like the details of your moon photo briefly.
Right. Okay. So right, we'll just go on with that for a moment. What I have done, let me just get back to the moon picture. Oh, hang on. So this was taken with a 71mm refractor with a ×2.5 converter on it. and I captured it using SharpCap. Now this is stacked in the lunar stacking tool from the SharpCap menu. So instead of doing a video and then sorting it out through Auto Stackert, it just stacks individual frames one on top of the other, and it builds the image up. And this is the result of a stacked single image from SharpCap. And I just adjusted it in Photoshop.
Wow,
So
that is lovely, Roger.
Yeah, I mean, it saves all the time of going into Auto Stacker and then processing it through there. But it comes out, well, not quite like this when it's in at the end of the TIFF from the SharpCap. So I just adjust it in Photoshop, and it does a very, very good job. It corrects the color, it sharpens it, and all the rest of it. And it's got little wavelets like in Registacks to sharpen it up. But I don't do too much, otherwise it does look a bit overdone. But it does a very good job now, and I'm quite impressed with all the different tools that you can use in SharpCap to process these images straight into the image software. So that does help quite considerably.
What camera did you use for it, Roger?
It's made by Player One, but it's a Sony 533 square sensor, only 9 megapixels. But with my focal length and the converter on there, it almost fills the frame. So it's quite a reasonable size to start with. So I don't have to very much crop it at all.
Nice.
So I'm quite lucky with that.
Yeah, indeed, lovely.
Although
so,
if I do,
have you ever taken what you consider to be your perfect moon photo, after which you thought, I'm never going to get better than that?
Well, I do that, and then I seem to outdo myself further on. So it just depends on how good the seeing is, really. And at the moment, with the weather that we've had and the airflow currents coming across, it's sort of gone way out of the way, so we're getting quite good seeing. And
what was this I saw about the UK having some nice weather?
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Yeah. Something wrong there.
Next week.
Don't worry, it's going to change by Sunday. We'll be getting back to the wet and windy weather again, unfortunately. But I don't think it's going to be very bad at all, really. But
I won't tell you what it's like it.
We're so desperate for rain anyway. I'm sure the gardeners will be pleased for stop the ground all drying up. But we got to make the most of it, because it might be the summer that we might not get later on in the year.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it's a good summer next year for the total eclipse.
Absolutely right. Okay, so onwards with the gallery. So Sandra Grace decided to do something with her Lego, and she's decided to make the Milky Way with 3,095 pieces, and this is what she's managed to come up with.
Oh wow!
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
isn't that amazing, Sandra? That is truly amazing. Well done.
She's obviously using some of the pink and bits for the hydrogen alpha colouring of the some of the arms there. So yeah.
Well done, Sandra.
That's lovely.
Yeah, well done indeed. As I said,
quite amazing.
Look there. Nice.
Yeah. As I said to Sandra, she's got a lot more patience than I have. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Did you start with the corners?
Yeah, did you start with the corners, Sandra, work inwards? And it's amazing.
That's lovely. Amazing. That's absolutely fantastic.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think we ought to go, and they ought to be sent to NASA and to Lego to see what their thoughts are on.
I was just thinking, actually, because also these could be used for people with seeing difficulties, because it'll be tactile.
Yeah, it'd be 3D.
So it'll be 3D for them, so they can just feel their way around and things like that. Because they do produce these sort of things, don't they? These tactile images.
Yes, they do.
For people with poor eyesight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sandra says, as you can see, she's going to get lights for it next. That should be good.
Yeah, she says her fingers is just recovered.
Yeah.
You're going to put
Pushing them all
billions.
in.
Yeah, she's going to be billions of little lights as each individual star.
And she says you do it square by square. God.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Yeah. And Melinda says, Roger, your moon pictures are always so cool.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
You've got a fan
she might be a bit biased, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
Let's
I
move
see.
on.
Yeah.
Like that.
We love it.
Right,
Simon.
and
We love
another one of our very regular contributors, Jerry, and he's managed to get Bode's Galaxy through his Richie Critchion telescope, and you'll be amazed at this one. Look at that.
Oh, wow. That
Look at
is
that.
Beautiful.
that is truly amazing.
Yeah.
Another one for Lego.
Yep. Sandra,
Yeah.
get
Sandra, Sandra.
Sandra, come on, Sandra.
get bricking.
Yeah. A new business idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is fantastic.
That's
Yeah,
lovely,
that
isn't
is-
it?
Detail in
Great
that
resolution.
stone. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, Sandra says she's bought a sea star, so they'll be her next images. So we look
Oh,
forward
well
to,
done.
forward to seeing them, Sandra. Good
Yeah.
luck. Clear
Send them
skies.
to the gallery, pronto.
Yeah.
Right, now, Kevin Earp has managed to get some interesting images of Venus.
Oh, right.
And one in mid-morning, and had a bit of a job to try and find it in the bright sky, but obviously
Yeah,
did.
he did.
And then he managed to get another one, but he got a congratulations at stelling from Carolyn Porco, which I
Wow.
believe,
Wow.
which is a recommendation which kept him smiling for a little while, I think.
I bet
so,
he was on cloud 9 for a week. I would have been.
He certainly was. So both images 500 frames from 10,000. So it's only a
Wow.
very, very small percentage. But obviously, when you get the results,
Oh,
here we go.
look at
Oh,
that.
wow.
7.4% and 5.2% of the disc.
Yeah, it's
That one
lovely
on
when
the-
you see
that
the
one on the
phases.
left
It really is.
That one on the left is reminiscent of Voyager's shot of Neptune, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close encounter. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Carolyn Porco, she is a very, very well-known planetary scientist in the field, and was the, I believe, if Dave's still on, he can correct me, but I'm pretty sure she was the principal investigator for the VIMS, the Visual Infrared Mapping Spectrometer, on Cassini.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds right, Lou.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there.
Okay.
Astronomy school.
She's a dominant person in the field.
All right.
Yes. Right. And so for the last one, oh dear, it's one of mine.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got some more lunar images here. So we've got a general view and then we've got a close-up view.
That's
Wow.
great. It really held the definition when you zoomed in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have you got the X on the left? Looks like you got the X.
Not quite.
You look-
It just needs a few hours more. It was
Yeah,
you
right
can
on the
see it, though.
verge.
You can see it's there. Yeah.
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 But
Sweet.
I mean, you've got the three craters there. The Theophilus. But it's quite interesting with the central peaks there of the of that crater. They came out really, really well.
Mhm.
But I noticed when I was photographing it last night that the edges round the picture weren't as sharp, and I had a look, and it actually needs collimation. Now this will be the first time I need to collimate my Maxitov telescope since I've had it, and I've had that for nearly 2 years. So I've got a little challenge to recollimate it. But
How do you collimate a Maxitov? Because Isn't the
There's three screws. Yeah, there's 3 screws on the back that you adjust. There's the 3 which hold it in place, and then you've got 3 other little screws which just slightly adjust them.
Yeah, my Mead Maxitoff has the same screws, 3 little screws.
Yeah. So it should be interesting to try and have a go at doing that. So I might be doing that a bit later, but it's not far off, but it's enough to notice.
Yeah.
But it's still a brilliant planetary lunar imaging telescope.
Oh yeah, we can tell.
Lovely.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There we are. Then.
I mean, yeah. So that was at its the one on the left of the moon. That was with a reducer on there, and that was done in 2 halves. And the one on the right, the close-up, is at its natural focal length. So it just gives you an idea of how much the difference is on the size.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Right, so that concludes the What's in the Night Sky.
Thank you very much for that, Roger. Fantastic.
Well done, everybody.
Yeah, well done. And don't forget, guys, if you want to see these images again, well, you can do, of course, by...
yes, they're all on the web.
To the Space Oddities website. And the Space Oddities website is here at https ://spaceoddities.space. Very easy to remember. And and everybody who submits images to our gallery has their own little gallery on our website. And there we are. And if you'd like to send your images, then please send them to gallery@spaceoddities.space. If you want to contact us for any reason, don't know why you would, but we love hearing from you. Anything you want to say about Space Oddities, then drop us a line at info@spaceoddities.space. If you're sending... Sorry, go
Keith, the answer to Keith is yes, it's manual. But it's quite easy to get it into focus quite quickly with the Maxitoff.
So you don't use a mask or anything?
No, it's all purely visual. Once you've got, because it's a Maxitoff, if it's out of focus, you get like a donut effect where you got like a blurring of 2 images. Once it goes into focus, it's there. You'll notice it instantly.
Right. There we are. Thank you for that. If you would like to send us your images, now, we're looking for any images of the sky, basically. They can be taken in daylight, like the Venus images. They can be deep sky objects. They can be planets, whatever. If it's just a nice skyscape, send it in to us as well. It's all about the sky, after all. And send them into gallery@spaceoddities.space. 1 image per email, please. And if you could attach the images rather than paste them into the body of the email, that would be much appreciated, because it makes them a lot easier to deal with. And just send them into gallery@spaceoddities.space. And you get your own little gallery on the website. What more could you want out of your life? So there we are. Okay. Also, while we're on the subject, don't forget that, sort of on the subject, don't forget we'll be back next week with another Moon edition on the live stream. But in the meantime, as I said, do have a look at the videos on the channel for Moon Month. There'll be a lot more going up as of tomorrow. We'll be posting maybe 2 or even 3 a day on the channel. We've got a lot of stuff coming up about all of the space missions that went to the moon, and I do mean all of them. And that's a really interesting thing, to which we have to give Daz our deepest thanks, because he's worked very hard on producing a whole series of podcasts for the channel all about the space missions. And it's been a real learning experience, finding out things that we didn't know, and stuff that is really surprising. And we like to think of it as a sort of a chronicle of the exploration of the moon, and it'll all be in the Moon Month playlist on the Space Oddities channel. And please give us some feedback about Moon Month, because we would like to do similar themed months in the future. And if this is a success, we will. And the only way we know if it's a success, well, we can look at the viewing figures, but we'd like to know what you, our audience, think. So please, if you have any comments, recommendations, suggestions, criticisms, anything at all about Moon Month on Space Oddities, email us at info@spaceoddities.space. And thank you very much for doing that. It's much appreciated. Okay, well, we'll move on now. We come now to our regular feature, Einstein of the Week. And this is where we look at some of the ridiculous things that people say on social media, not necessarily just about astronomy, but science in general. Now, what I wanted to do this week, as we're in the middle of Moon Month, is do a Moon Month themed Einstein of the Week, where people have said ridiculous things about the moon and the exploration of the moon. So I went looking for those this week, and there were thousands and thousands of posts, as there always are, saying the moon landing has never happened, NASA are liars, it's all CGI, a lot of God botherers as well. And in the end, because they're all very, very similar and very boring and very tedious, I only came up with two, surprisingly, that had nothing to do with any of those. But because I was concentrating on finding those, I wasn't really looking for others. So I've only got two entries in the Moon Month Einstein of the Week this week. So let me just set this up, and we will just have a look at the Einstein of the Week. They're both very good, by the way, but they are about specifically about the moon this week. So let me just get back to where I am, and there we are. So Einstein of the Week, both of them actually on the same theme, and the theme is the moon receding from the Earth. Now, as we know, the moon is receding from the Earth a few centimeters per year. Lou, could you explain to the viewers why the moon is receding from the Earth?
Sure. The moon tugs on the Earth and creates tides. And these tides act like kind of little gravitational handles. And so as the Earth rotates once every 24 hours, it pulls on the moon, which orbits once every month, roughly, and actually adds energy to the moon's orbit. And in order to conserve energy, the moon moves further out in its orbit, but that energy comes from somewhere, and it comes from the Earth's rotation. So the Earth is actually slowing down by, milliseconds per century, I think is the number. But the moon recedes. And so there will be a time in the future, perhaps hundreds of millions of years from now, I don't know the exact date, where the moon will be so far from the Earth that we won't have any more total lunar eclipses. The moon will
well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
And out of interest, Lou, I was looking into this a bit because somebody on social media asked a few billion years ago how much closer was the moon, and it turns out, to one estimate, and I haven't verified this, but one estimate I read said that 3 billion years ago the Earth was 80,000 kilometers closer to the Earth.
Right, and this is important because this all backs up the lunar formation theory that we have of this off-center collision, and because of that, the Earth rotated once every 5 hours, and so that's how much rotational energy it's lost in those 4 billion or so years.
And of course, this was also important for the tides, because life could probably not have emerged from the sea to the land without these intertidal ranges where they could temporarily be out of the water and adapt to being out of the water. All very interesting stuff. And I also read that 3 billion years ago, the tides may have been about 30 feet higher in some places as they are now because of the moon being closer. So all interesting stuff. Anyway, getting back to Einstein of the Week, this was one person talking about the moon receding from the Earth, and that person said, so what that means is it's changing the weather. What percentage of the moon's drift from the Earth is caused by human-produced carbon dioxide?
What?
Exactly. What? So let's just kill this one. It's not affecting the weather, and nor the climate, obviously. But basically what? So,
Don't even know how to begin with that.
no, me neither.
Because the CO2's in our atmosphere. It's not. It's not. In the moon is not in our atmosphere. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. Because we were told last week it is.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the moon is outside our atmosphere, so the CO2
That might be
has
at the
got.
bottom of it that they think the moon is in the atmosphere. Interesting. And anyway, as I said, there are only 2 this week. I haven't given any of them the epithet of Einstein of the week because there are only 2 of them. But the next one on the same subject, which is good, and it says, if we mine it, the moon, then it will become lighter and drift faster.
Oh.
Yeah.
How much are we going to mine?
Yeah. How big is the mine?
Yeah,
So-
you know, how much we got to take?
So
Yeah.
it's interesting. If you look at the moons of the solar system, in other words, the Earth and other planets, it's the large moons that, the big round moons, Titan and Enceladus, so on and so on, that are tidally locked to their planets. And the further out you get, and the smaller you get, the less likely it is that your satellite, your moon, will be tidally locked to your planet. So, I mean, you'd have to mine an awful lot, of course, and all that kind of thing. But if we had moons like Mars has moons, right? These tiny little possibly captured asteroids, then it would affect the moon's synchronicity with the Earth.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I mean, also, if you mine a lot, that means it's going to make the moon less dense, so the gravitational pull is going to be less, which means that'll affect the waves and the tides, so there'll be no more surfing. So, think
Yeah,
of
but
the
I don't
surfers.
mind.
Exactly.
But aren't we going to mine the moon to use some of the material to build bases? Anyway, so it'll still be there.
Yeah, that's right.
I
You're
think
not
they're
taking it away from the moon, are you?
No.
No, you're not
We're
going to
About the regolith, aren't you?
Are you?
Which is
absolutely. Anyway, there we had just the 2 entries for Einstein of the week. I'm sure we will. There'll be more next week. But apart from the usual moon landing denying idiots on social media, there wasn't a lot of material there this week related to the moon. So we'll be back next week with some other stuff. I'm
I
sure.
think, as I said, I think the biggest crisis will be when there's no more surfing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, my dream was shattered when it turned out that the moons, the oceans on Titan, have waves just about 1 millimeter high, and certainly not enough to go
No surfing there.
No surfing on Titan. I was
No
gutted.
surfing, but you can fly around pretty easy.
Yeah. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. So, as Dragonfly, hopefully we'll
That's
find
good
out.
news for Dragonfly. Yeah, just to say that.
Absolutely. All right then. Well, so we're going to move on, and we are going to move on to Michael now because it's time for our other weekly feature, Constellation of the Week.
Right.
So Michael is going to reveal all to us. Well, no, I hope not. He's going to reveal. He's going to reveal which constellation have we got this week, Michael?
We have got Aries.
Ooh.
Oh right.
Ooh.
Oh, Aries.
If you can just bear with me.
My birth sign.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Let's
Aries.
not go there, Roger. Don't cheapen.
Yeah, Aries the ram, which is kind of goes along with Michael, but that's another story.
Can
So-
you see that? Can you see that? Okay.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
indeed.
everything.
Right. Okay then. So this is all about Aries. I picked it because it's quite a small constellation, but there's still quite a bit in it. Aries is one of the constellations of the zodiac, located in the northern celestial hemisphere, between Pisces to the west and Taurus to the east. The name Aries is Latin for ram. I'll come to that in a minute. It's one of the 48 constellations described by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy, and remains one of the 88 modern constellations today. Here it is, and can you see my little mouse there? Just 4 stars in Aries. It's actually 5 stars, but I'll come on to that in a minute as well. And there's Taurus to the one side, and Pisces down below. As I say, it's on the ecliptic, and as the sun has just passed the ecliptic in March, this is why the sun showed up when I tried to get a constellation image off from it off Stellarium. So that's why the sun is there on that image. Okay.
Well, can I just interrupt you for a moment, Michael?
Yeah.
I just want to reassure our viewers that this is a weekly feature on Space Oddities, and it's not Constellation of the Month.
Oh, yes, that's true. Sorry about that. Yes.
Sorry, Michael, carry on.
Yeah, okay. This is the kind of thing that the ancients thought the constellation represented. This is the ram itself. So you got the head there and the tail. So as I say, it's not very big, not a very big constellation, but it's got quite a few things in it, as we'll come on to. Okay. Yeah, this is a slightly different image. Most of the images I found just showed these 4 stars joined together with the lines, the constellation line. But believe it or not, this you got alpha, beta, and gamma on this side, but delta is actually this star here, and delta is not always connected by a line in all of the diagrams I've found, and I'll come to, and I'll let you know about that in a second as well. So that's a better diagram. So yeah, that's how it looks. This is a general diagram where you've got alpha there, the main star Hamal, beta, and gamma. And just bear with me. The tail end of Aries, which is this star here, is marked by the 3.5 magnitude star 41 Oddities. So that's not got a Greek letter assigned to it. Delta is over here on its own, and it marks the foot, one of the feet of the ram. So yeah. So alpha is the second magnitude Hamal. Beta is Sheratan, magnitude 2.61. Gamma is a binary star, possibly trinary. And as I say, delta is also named Botan and lies towards the edge of the main constellation, as I say, just there. Okay, and again on the ecliptic here. So, and again, there's another image showing the actual location of Botan or Delta Oddities. Okay.
That's a strange name for a star. It does look French, actually, which seems.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I didn't get.
I'm going to look that up now. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. As I say, Aries is on the ecliptic, and it also marks the points of the vernal equinox, which is the point where the ecliptic and the celestial equator meet, and the point where the sun moves into the northern hemisphere in March of the year. As we witnessed last month, also known as the vernal equinox or spring equinox, marks the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, the astronomer Hipparchus defined this in 130 BC as a point south of Gamma Oddities. But because of the precession of the equinox due to the Earth's axial rotation, this point gradually moves westward at the rate of 1 degree every 72 years. This means that since the time of Hipparchus, it has shifted across the sky about 30 degrees and is currently located within Pisces near its border with Aquarius. So yeah, it's a bit more interesting about the eclipse there. Okay. Okay, deep sky objects, one or two deep sky objects. In the center of this image, you've got NGC 680, and on the top right there, NGC 678, two galaxies there. This was taken by the 32-inch Schulman telescope at Mount Lemmon Observatory in Arizona, in the United States. These galaxies are a pair of galaxies in areas that are only about 200,000 light years apart, part of the NGC 691 group of galaxies, and both are at a distance of 130 million light years. So this is a nice image of another galaxy, which is NGC 772, also known as ARP 78, or the Fiddlehead Galaxy.
Oh, right. That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah. And
that's not one of Roger's images, is it?
Yeah. And that's approximately 106 million light years away and located southeast of Beta Oddities.
Knowing Roger, that was taken with his old Nokia phone.
Yeah.
No. That's Sandra with her Lego.
Yeah. Okay. Also,
I thought that was with a sea star.
Yeah. Also, Aries contains stars with extrasolar planets, i.e. planets orbiting stars outside of our solar system. There's a couple of G-type stars, HIP 14810, orbited by 3 giant planets. Those more than 10 times the mass of the Earth. HD 12661 is also a G-type main sequence star, slightly larger than the Sun, with 2 orbiting planets. One planet is 2.3 times the mass of Jupiter, and the other is 1.57 times the mass of Jupiter. And another G-type star, approximately the size of the Sun, with 1 orbiting planet confirmed on that. So it's got some nice future planets to look into, shall we say. Okay, so, and again, on the extrasolar planets, this is the 30 Oddities system, home to exoplanet 30 Oddities BB, which was previously thought to be a triple star, now actually a quadruple star. An exoplanet that was discovered by astronomers at Germany's Charles Observatory in 2009 turned out to be more interesting. New observations have revealed that the planet is actually housed within a quadruple star system. And it's the second planet known to exist within such a system, lying some 136 light years from Earth. So,
quadruple star system?
Quadruple star system, yeah.
And those are stable orbits?
Wow. Yeah, apparently so.
So it must be some really weird orbital dynamics. So
somebody solved the 3-body problem.
Yeah, and I thought that was an interesting point to finish on. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Michael.
Very good.
That's good. Thank you very much for that. We will, of course, be back with another constellation of the week next week.
You haven't got to wait a month.
Yeah, can I just put this up?
I was getting confused with Moon Month.
Yeah, I know. We know that you're easily confused, Michael. So you have our sympathy. Keith says, Moon Month is great. Thank you so much for that, Keith. It makes it worthwhile. Thank you. A Mars Month would be excellent. Lou, what more could you want?
And we can even talk about Aries.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Another Aries, yes.
Another good connection.
Yeah.
So Keith, thank you for that suggestion. We will consider it, obviously.
Can we all have Mars bars in Mars Month?
Yeah. We'd have to give Sandra a galaxy then.
Oh,
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's my
Either
age.
that or a Milky Way.
oh dear me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Keith,
Boom,
great
boom.
suggestion. Thank you for the compliment. We do our best. And yes, a Mars
Oh.
month does sound a great idea. I'll
Oh.
be really interested in doing that. I'm sure Lou would. And what about you guys? You up for Mars month?
I was
Yeah.
thinking about a Voyager month, discussing
Oh.
about all the Voyagers.
Not
No,
fair.
steady.
Oh,
Don't
that-
overexcite
Sandra-
Lou. I've told you before.
Sandra-
Don't overexcite Lou. So
Sandra
So-
and Mike both say thanks, Michael. So that's all right.
yeah,
We-
there are all
we
sorts of
maybe-
theme months we could do.
We
Yeah.
may be
Um,
doing a Voyager month sooner than you think if funding is cut for Voyager.
Oh.
Ah,
We'll have to see.
Yeah,
Oh dear.
true.
We'll have to
True,
see.
very true. But yes, thank you, Keith. We will definitely consider that. I'd be keen to do that, definitely. All sorts of theme months we could do. So, yes, please. Yeah, so great. We could even do a Titan month, Lou.
Oh.
All right, I can't do this anymore. I'm
Getting silly now, aren't we?
too much. Too much.
Okay, all right. We're going to move on now. And there are lots of people in the history of the exploration of space whose names have been forgotten, who are, if you like, the unsung heroes of the whole enterprise of observing and exploring the universe. And Daz is going to tell us about some of these hidden figures right now, in fact, if you're ready, Daz.
Yeah, this is actually a blog. It's made using the conversation is made using AI because I'm lazy, and I've put it to some slides, and you probably all know about the story, and basically it's the story of let me just share. Well, when you share, oh wait, wait, choose it first. That's it. Thank you. Share. I hope this works, and it's all about the hidden figures. We all know the film, but this is just a bit more of an insight of the actual story behind these ladies. Now, of course, these ladies were not the only ladies who were present at the time, but and I will be doing another presentation, basically in highlighting all the women. Well, most of the women that were there, some of them were quite in quite important roles at the time during the Apollo missions. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. It's about 15 minutes long, so I just hope you enjoy it. Enjoy. So
And before you start, may I just say, we are experimenting with these AI-generated conversations. And there'll be a lot of them coming up as part of Moon Month on the channel about the space missions. So tell us what you think. Do you like this way of presenting information? Do you hate it? Just give us some feedback, because we're always experimenting with different ways of getting information across. So tell us what you think of this, basically, and we'd be very grateful if you don't do it in the chat. Send us an email at info@spaceoddities.space. Thank you.
Let's hope we can start this. Doesn't seem to want to start.
Oh,
let me just have a look.
There you go.
We doesn't seem to want to start.
okay.
Let me just.
All right. Well, perhaps you better scrub that idea.
Yeah, just for some unknown reason it won't start.
Okay.
It was running earlier. I mean, I just have a look. Yeah, it does work, but I can't get it to start.
Try just getting out and getting back in.
Apologies for this, viewers. Again, it's the perils of live broadcasting, where things don't always go to plan, even though you've practiced them a million times. So let's just try again. But as I said, if we can get it running, we'd be interested to know what you think of the format.
Yeah, it's, I don't know why that wouldn't run, because it's on screen share. Right, we'll look into that. Sorry, folks.
Yeah,
my bad.
We'll leave that. This will be appearing as a video on the channel, so you won't miss out. It will be in the Moon Month playlist. I will get that up on the channel some point this month. Not quite sure where have you put that in your schedule that you gave me?
Yeah,
that
it's
I know
in the. Oh no, I haven't put it in the schedule. The schedule
Okay.
was about the flight sequence, wasn't it?
Yeah,
In what
sure,
order they were.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, I will get that up on the channel soon, definitely, so that you don't know. But as I said, Daz has put a lot of hard work into doing all of these podcasts, if you like, about the space missions that went to the moon and the road to the moon, all the programs leading up to the moon landings, namely Mercury and Gemini. And these AI conversations go in depth into each of those. So they're really interesting. But we want to know what you think. If you don't like them, tell us, because we are experimenting with all of this. And if it's a failed
as
experiment,
brutal
then
as you want to be, as brutal as you can be.
as brutal as you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all impressed with what AI can do in creating material like this. It makes our life so much easier and so much less time consuming to create material for the channel using AI. So let us know what you think. It's as simple as that. We value your opinions. All right, then. Well, never mind, Daz, these things happen. And as I said,
I'll tinker on it in a while.
Yeah, don't worry. All right. So I think that's about it for this evening. I don't think we have anything else for you this evening. Don't forget, we'll be back next week. And next week, we will be discussing the moon in popular culture. How is the moon represented in popular culture? So we're looking forward to that, because that's actually quite interesting. Different manifestations of the moon and how humans have viewed the moon in popular culture. So we hope you join us for that next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And there we are. We'd like to thank our guest, Dr. Dave Williams, for being with us this evening. And we hope we'll see him back, because as Lou has pointed out, he's got lots of stories. So we hope we get to hear some of them. And it was thank you, Lou, for introducing us to Dr. Williams.
Yes.
A very interesting thing about the moon trees. And we hope to see him back. So there we are. In the meantime, we all hope you all have a fantastic week. And I'm celebrating here because I've just booked my flights to London for the summer. I'm taking my daughter on a sort of a touristy tour around London for a few days in June. Really looking forward to that. And I'm also happy here because the weather is absolutely glorious at 24 degrees and cloudless skies, and summer has arrived. So very happy. So there we are. All right then. So from Daz, from Roger, from Michael, from Lou, and myself, thank you all for being here. Give us some feedback, anything, anytime. You're always welcome to mail us at info@spaceoddities.space. And we do appreciate you keeping in touch with us like that. So until next week, from everybody at Space Oddities, we will wish you a very good evening. Take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be average. That's what I always say. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Do keep your eye on the channel for the Moon Month videos, though, because they'll be going up really frequently as of tomorrow. So until the end of the month. So there we are. And thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.